Hello again, everybody. My name is Gray Oldenburg, and welcome back to the Jungle Show. This is the fifth episode, the fifth edition of the Jungle Show here on Auburn Daily's YouTube channel, Auburn Daily's Trip Stream, and Auburn Daily's Facebook page, where we talk Auburn men's basketball 52 weeks out of the year. Today, on today's episode, we will talk a little bit about the NBA draft lottery, kind of a few storylines about Jabari Smith and about Walker Kessler going into the NBA draft as they start the NBA Combine very soon. We also start our player by player breakdown series that we're going to do. I'm going to write an article every week on auburndaily.com, and we are going to discuss that on each show. Today is none other than Auburn's super senior guard and returning point guard, Zep Jasper. All of that and more next. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Jungle Show. Just like I said in the intro, we are back here on the Auburn Daily YouTube channel, Auburn Daily Facebook page, and Auburn Daily Trip Stream every Friday at 6 p.m. We go live to talk Auburn men's basketball 52 weeks out of the year. And today, I'm excited for this one today because we're going to start our series on breaking down each, returning and new player for this upcoming year, the 2022-2023 college basketball season. We'll break down every single one. I'll do an article, and we'll talk about it here on this show. And today we're going to go by academic class, just like I hinted at last week. And this week is Zep Jasper. We'll get into that. We're also going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the NBA stuff, the NBA draft lottery going on. It happened on Tuesday night. What that means for Jabari Smith, what that means for the Auburn basketball program, and some other guys that are in that NBA process that we need to know what's happening with them as well. And to do that, I brought in my dad and my co-host Chris Oldenburg. How are you, Dad?
I'm doing well. We're excited about the lottery that happened Tuesday, and the prospect of maybe getting a couple of Auburn players on one team to play together. So we'll see.
That's right. Just like you hinted at there, the Orlando NBA draft is they scored the number one overall pick of the draft, followed by the Oklahoma City Thunder at 2, the Houston Rockets at 3, Sacramento Kings at 4, Detroit Pistons at 5, so on and so on and so on. And the later of that, the ending of that first round will be determined based off of what happens at the end of these NBA playoffs. But right now,
you mean when Golden State wins the finals?
No. Sure. If you want, I don't know.
I do want.
Okay, but
go ahead. Sorry.
Besides that, we will we'll talk about what does that mean for Jabari Smith. Just like you said, him being a projected number one overall pick, maybe number 2 pick, if you want to go that far. Him being the number 1 pick would send him to the Orlando Magic unless a barring trade happens, which we've never seen happen in the NBA before like that. But that would team him up with former Auburn Tiger Chuma Okeke, just like you mentioned when you just said, getting 2 Auburn players to play together for the first time. What would that mean for Jabari?
It's a significant thing for Jabari, obviously. He said recently that he thinks he can become the best ever. Yeah. Being the number 1 overall pick would mean a lot, would be a good step in that direction. He's got to be more aggressive in the NBA. He'll find that out. He's got to put some bulk on his body, but he is the most ready NBA prospect, I believe, of the top 3. He's better than Holmgren. Holmgren, I don't even think of that is in that conversation. I think the Magic may look at picking the Banchero or Jabari. And if they pick Banchero, then Jabari is number 2 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'd love to see him go to Orlando and play with Chuma. I would become a big time Orlando fan. I know that you don't like that because you're a Charlotte guy, but two Auburn guys on the same team would be hard not to root for, and a Carolina guy, by the way.
It would be hard, and for me, as a Charlotte fan, being able to see Chuma or Jabari go to the same team, it's like, okay, well, that's annoying because we're in the same division as the Orlando Magic.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, it would be a little tougher.
That's right.
The cool thing though would be for the program, for the Auburn program, have a number 1 overall pick, have him playing in Orlando with another Auburn player. I think that would be. Bruce Pearl can't get better advertising than that, because if he goes number 1 overall, Pearl will be all over the TV. ESPN will have him all over the place.
Oh, sure.
He'll get the FaceTime on TV that will attract recruits. Right. Maybe attract a transfer. We still have 1 slot still open, so maybe a transfer comes in. Maybe not, but it wouldn't hurt for them to see. Oh wow, he just put the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So
that's right. That's right. You're exactly right. And I heard a stat about that, what that means for the program. I heard a stat from Justin Ferguson on his podcast this past week on the Auburn Observer. He said there's only been 2 programs, only 2 schools that have a number 1 overall pick in the NFL, a number 1 overall pick in the MLB, and the number 1 overall pick in the NBA. Those 2 schools are LSU and UCLA. And I guess that kind of makes sense because all 3 of those schools are good in those 3 sports, have been good in those 3 sports. Auburn has a chance to get that and join that club right now because, you got Cam Newton. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2011 NFL draft. You've got Casey Mize was the first overall pick in his MLB draft.
That's not who I thought it was. That's right, though. Casey Mize.
And you got a chance for Jabari here going to Orlando. That you would join that crew right there. Talk about
that's a
athletic building type of yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That's an interesting side. I've not seen that, but yeah, LSU's been good at those 3 for a while, and obviously UCLA was terrific at basketball forever. Always had pretty good baseball teams, I think, back in the day. So that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing we'll talk about here very quickly. Alan Flanagan was invited to the G League camp. I think they had a G League elite camp where they had a bunch of guys who are not necessarily high prospects or didn't get the invite to the NBA Combine, but they wanted to get them in front of those scouts, especially G League coaches and G League scouts, to get them looks, to get them at that next level if they go undrafted. And Alan Flanagan was one of those that was invited and actually played pretty well in those scrimmages that they had at the G League camp.
He kind of looked like sophomore Alan Flanagan to me. He had the step back 3 working. He was attacking the rim a couple times. So I think he looked good. They gave a couple of combine invites out from that camp. He did not get one.
Yeah.
So I think his foray into the NBA this year is probably done. There's a lot. I don't know. I was watching ESPN or whatever the other night, and they said that they gave the number of people who are entered the draft versus the number of people who will get drafted.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 times the amount of kids who are going to get drafted. So it's a whew.
Hey, you're going to see
if a floodgate get drafted. They'll come back in and go in the transfer portal. A lot of them.
Yeah, you will see a floodgate open soon. They have until June 1st to withdraw their name from the draft. Otherwise, they are in for it. If they want to come back to college, that's if they want to come back to And we expect Alan Flanagan to do that. But we're also we're understanding that if he does go, he's not a first or second round draft pick. He's going to go to the G League and get looks that. Just like that, he went to that elite camp for is to be able to get advice and get looks and know what to work on if he were to come back to Auburn for next year's draft.
Yeah, I think if he stays out of school, it's the G League, possibly going overseas. He's not NBA ready right now. Possibly could get there with some work this year. Look, in the beginning of the year, before he hurt his Achilles, they were talking about him being a late first, early second round guy.
Yeah.
So maybe he gets there. He was one of the favorites for SEC Player of the Year at the beginning of the year. Then he got hurt, and things changed. So hopefully he can build back up. Like I said, I fully expect him to come back to Auburn, and come in and get back to work, and hold down that 3 slot, and be a better shooter this year. We'll see.
I do as well. And to be able to get back into that more comfortable spot that he played, his not necessarily his when he was playing point guard his sophomore year, but when he was on the wing, and his confidence that year, getting back to that is what he needed, because I do believe that an injury affected way more than just his explosiveness. That affected his mental game extremely.
All in his head.
Absolutely. But before we get into talking about all things, the man Zep Jasper, I wanted to mention real quick that I will also be doing a post-lottery NBA mock draft. I'm just going to edit the mock draft that I had and kind of change some picks around and move where these franchises are selecting.
Right.
That way it's a more real draft, and we'll be getting that up soon. But today, if you're watching this live, or you're watching it right now live, you're watching it on the replay on Friday, I uploaded an article. And it's the start of our breakdown of the player preview series. And we're just going to go one by one. We're going to do one a week. We're going to get them uploaded Thursday or Friday every week on auburndaily.com. And we're also going to talk about them on the Jungle Show. And today, none other than our super senior guard, Zep Jasper. We'll go through the article a little bit. And just like, his presence coming back, you can't match that. There's no star. There's no
you can't put a star right in.
Can't match that. It's like, and I'm not saying Zep's going to be a first round pick this year because of him coming back. I'm not saying that. I'm saying his impact, his immediate impact that he made at Auburn this year, will just get bigger next year as he gets older, as he gets better, as he starts playing with these guys even longer. He starts
a year in the system.
Another year in the system.
Yeah,
exactly. It's super valuable to not only have your point guard back, have both your point guards back, but also to have a point guard, 2 point guards that mesh together really well and both provide completely different things.
Yeah.
But both provide great things. And
it's like having a running quarterback and a stationary quarterback that has the big arm on the same team, and being willing to interchange them a little bit.
Exactly.
Because Zep is your defender. He's the guy that Bruce felt comfortable this year starting Zep over Wendell, because he wanted that defensive presence early in the game. Yeah. And then once they've kind of gotten used to the point guard not being as much of an offensive threat, I think Zep can be an offensive threat, but not as much. They kind of relax, and he throws Wendell out there, and Wendell eats him alive from the point guard position. Yeah, so it worked well for most of the year. But having his defensive presence and having his leadership is invaluable. Like you said, it's invaluable. You can't Yes, it's like getting a 5-star point guard, another one, because he's the guy that's been there, done that. He can lead the team. He's off the court. Yep. He's a great guy. On the court, he's the honey badger. So
the honey badger, just like you said. So I noted here in the article, just a few things about Zep. He's 6'1". He's 185. He was 165 in his recruiting class, which he's from the 2016 recruiting class. We got to realize that was a while ago.
That was 6 years ago.
That was a long time ago. but he played 3 seasons at the College of Charleston, and his last season at the College of Charleston, the year after COVID, so the 2020 through 2021 season, last year, or the year before last year, he averaged 15.6 points a game and 2.6 assists for the College of Charleston. That there's his, just like you said, he is an offensive threat. He can be more of an offensive threat than, when you look at it. You look at his stats this year, he averaged 5.1 points a game and 2.1 assists. So it's with Zep, it's not, he has to be an offensive threat. And a lot of that was his teammates last year. It was, he had offensive threats to play with. He had offensive threats to pass it to. So he didn't need to be that way. But his defensive presence was unmatchable.
Yeah, it was funny when, I think it was the game that you and I went to at Mississippi State, when he got hot from 3, and it was like, where did that come from? My goodness, he can shoot. So he was one of our best, not named Jabari Smith, one of our best, probably our best 3-point shooter by average. He just didn't take a lot.
Yeah.
And like you said, he didn't have to. He had guys playing the wing and KD Johnson. He had Jabari, obviously. He had Walker. So he had guys around him that he was just trying to get them in the right position and get them the ball.
Yeah.
And then eat people alive on the defensive end. He's very quick. He beats people to the spot real well. He started drawing some charges. I think he could even draw more charges this next year and really help. You don't have to help him. Nobody's straight line driving him.
Yeah.
He's not going to let him straight line drive. So you don't have to help off your man when he's on the floor as much.
Yeah, I noted here in the article, and we talked all year long about how much of an impact Walker Kessler made defensively, and not just him blocking shots and affecting shots, but also letting the guards like Zep, like Wendell, and like KD being able to get in the passing lane, being able to be more aggressive on ball and on the perimeter, knowing that they have an eraser behind them. It's the exact same way flipped around with Zep Jasper.
Yeah.
His impact on ball, on perimeter, is unmatchable. He was the best in college basketball.
On ball defender.
Stewart just said it right there, right as I said it. He said it right then. He is the best on ball and off ball defender. Sometimes if you watch him, watch Zep play, go back and watch games, watch Zep when the ball is not even close to him. The ball's on the other side, and he's guarding the best player on the roster on the opposing team. He's not. He knows where the ball is.
That's the other thing you get. You get a kid who has basketball instincts and basketball knowledge that allow him to go, hey, not only can I help here, but I can't get too far from my guy, but I can also help the helper.
Yeah.
So even when a Walker Kessler would have to stop a baseline drive and leave the big man open, Zep a few times came in, and as a big guy in high school and college basketball, I was always taught never put the ball down low because that little guy becomes as big as you basically when you put the ball down low. And anytime somebody, even if he's across and coming across to help the helper, he's coming in there digging. He's digging for the basketball and is able to do that. So yeah, off the ball, he's really good because of his quickness and his basketball knowledge.
Exactly.
On ball, he's really good because he beats you to the spot. Yep. He studies film. It's obvious. He studies a lot of film on the guys that he's guarding, and he knows their moves. And then he can be the guy that goes, okay, you like to dribble in the middle of the lane and spin. Well, I'm going to take that spin away from you and make you play left-handed, basically. Make you play with your opposite hand. And it's
very smart. It's
impressive, and I'm really excited to have him back. You're right.
Me too. Some of Zep's, we were talking a little bit about Zep's offensive numbers earlier, but Zep averaged 5.1 points a game, which is not anything crazy. But we didn't need him to be that. We needed him to be exactly what we just talked about. He also averaged 2.1 assists per game, and he led the SEC and was one of the top in the country at an assist to turnover ratio at 2.7 to 1.
That's crazy.
Which I noted in the article is the top of the SEC, one of the top of the country. That right there, especially with a team like Auburn last year that was really determined on, okay, if we win the turnover battle, we will probably win this game, especially with the talent that we have. If we don't win the turnover battle,
you're letting teams stay in.
Yeah, they could stay in. They could battle. So that is so huge.
And it's another reason he started over Wendell. Early in the year, Wendell had some turnover, not issues. He turned the ball over because he's really aggressive with the ball in his hands, and he thinks he can make that move that maybe he can't, or maybe that level he wasn't ready for. So he had a few turnover issues. So starting Zep gave you a defender, and it gave you a guy that's not going to turn the ball over, a guy that's going to get it to the right person and not give it up. When you've got guys like Jabari and Walker last year, you value the basketball because you know that those two guys can score if you can get it to them. And this coming year, he's going to have guys that can score if he can get it to them. And we're going to talk about him as we go through this series, and he's going to have the eraser behind him still.
Yep.
Janai Broom is a shot blocker.
One of the top in the country last year behind Walker Kessler.
Top 3 in the country behind Walker and the 7'6" kid out of Western Kentucky.
Yep.
So he's still got that guy back there that can block shots. But he also has a guy that now he's got a post-up guy that can play with his back to the basket. And Zep can work on feeding him and cutting off of those feeds.
That's right.
I think I'm really excited to watch Zep grow and mature. And who knows, maybe he does sneak into the late second round or maybe even get some overseas looks next year.
I think that would be I think as an NBA franchise, as an NBA team, I would look at somebody like Zep because to be a veteran defensive presence, because you don't see a lot of that in the NBA. And when you do, you see them get minutes because of that. They're not a scoring threat. They're not going to go for 40 in a playoff game. They're not going to get 38 minutes a game. Yeah. They're coming in to not just relieve the stars that do that, but they're coming in to lock down whoever they're guarding and whoever their matchup is. And even if Zep doesn't, and Zep goes on and does his leadership on the basketball floor. And I was thinking about this when I was writing this article. Where do we see him next? Could we see him in a coaching position? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, I know he's going to want to go play somewhere. Of course, I would wish him to go play somewhere. I think Zep would be a fantastic basketball coach because of his knowledge, because of his grit, because of he loves the game. He's a great leader. And look, we're not trying to talk about what Zep was doing with the rest of his life after this. We're talking about what he does in this upcoming basketball year. But
hang on though. If I'm an NBA franchise, you just mentioned what he does on the court for me, but also what he does in my community. He's a great community guy. You follow him on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. He's always going out into going out to the people outside of the arena after games and talking to kids and getting pictures made with the kids and as an NBA franchise, you got to have some guys like that can be the face of the franchise. He can be the face of a franchise. Do I think he's going to go to the NBA and become an all-star and an all-world player? No. I don't think he's big enough to do that. Do I think he can go and get a few minutes at the end of the bench, get a few minutes to lock down as a lockdown defender and be that guy that everybody goes, I want to buy his jersey because he was nice to my kid. My kids love him.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. He's not going to grow any bigger. So he has to use his speed and his basketball knowledge and use that to see if he can go next level, NBA, G League, or overseas. He can make some money doing that. And then I agree. I think he'd be a great coach. He just because of his personality is attractive to people. People want to be around him. And he'd be a great coach, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So Stuart asked a question in the comments, and I want to use this question into what we're going to talk about here in just a second. But Stuart asked, I'm going to put it up on the screen. He said, would y'all say Flanagan at 100% is the wing we're hoping to grab from the portal? I think, and when we mentioned that we have a scholarship left available, I think Flanagan is listed as still being coming back to Auburn.
Yes, yeah.
So
that's if he comes back. There's one left.
Yes, there's one left, even if Flanagan comes back. And
it was Julian Phillips scholarship until Tennessee paid the man.
Exactly,
Sorry,
paid him $2 million.
I didn't mean to sound like Nick Saban. Sorry.
Oh no!
So let's talk about
podcast.
that.
We're not talking about football. That's a mess. I don't want to. That is a mess. I don't want to get into that. But I want to use
that's the Julian Phillips scholarship, though.
Yes, but I want to use this Stuart's question into if you're now you're Auburn, so now. You got Zep coming back. Say Flanagan does come back. You have one more left. Are you going to get another wing? Are you going to get a guard that can shoot? That guard that can stand out of the corner that can shoot? Do you go get another forward that you were trying to go get in Julian Phillips? What do you do if you're Auburn?
If I'm Coach Bruce Pearl, I am very picky right now.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that entered their name into the NBA draft are going to go, ooh, the numbers just don't work. So I'm going to come back, but I'm going to go somewhere where I can get some playing time and showcase my skills is what they're going to want to do. If I'm Bruce Pearl, I'm real picky. I want to see a shooter, and I want to see a guy that's a leader and a guy that can defend. Bruce likes you if you can defend. He doesn't want a shooter who doesn't get out there and guard somebody.
Yeah.
I do want to wing. Do I think Allen can be that? I think sophomore Allen is that. The problem is, what do you have with Allen coming back? Yeah. And nobody knows, because freshman Allen, I didn't want him to touch the ball. Sophomore Allen, I was like, he's an NBA player.
Yeah.
Junior Allen was hurt, but it terrified me every time he touched the ball because he was a turnover machine. Can he get back to what he was as a sophomore? He was a really good shooter. He was really aggressive driving the ball, and he was a good defender. He's what Bruce Pearl wants in that three.
Yep.
So can he be that? Yes. Could Chance Westry be that?
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe so. But if I'm Bruce Pearl, I know I've got a scholarship open. I know that people are going to be in the portal, and I'm looking at people going, if he's a shooter, I'm going to look at him and get him in here and see if he meshes with the culture.
Yeah.
If he doesn't mesh with my culture, I can go, I'm going to hold off on that scholarship, maybe give it to a walk-on this year, and then have it open for next year. I don't. Would it be great to have Bryce Brown back in that position? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But that's a generational talent.
Yeah.
That's a guy who led the league in 3-point shots. So or broke the record for 3-pointers made.
Yeah.
So I want a guy who can shoot. I think Chance Westry is somebody who can develop into that. But he's probably not there yet. But he can get some minutes behind Allen. And you want to go big, put Jalen out there at the 3.
And put Traore and Broom.
Traore at 4 and
Broom.
Broom at 5.
I like it.
Jalen could do it. He can guard. So I think you don't have to. I think Allen can be what you need. Willie, I don't know. I think that's a real big question this season.
Yeah, I agree. James is in the comment. We're going to wrap up all of our talk about Zep Jasper, but James in the comment says Zep is so much fun to watch. He plays his heart out. I believe he will be even better in the 2022 through 2023 season. War Eagle, James.
I couldn't agree more.
I
love watching the kid play basketball.
He's so – and look, he's so – I'm going to say this about a lot of players in this series, but he's so I don't know how to describe it. He's very – you turn on the TV to watch a guy like Zep Jasper.
Yeah.
I didn't turn on the TV just to watch Jabari Smith play at Auburn last year. I did.
Yeah.
Just not him. Not just Walker. I did for Walker, but I watched this team play, and Zep is that perfect guy that you want to be on your team. You're going to hate him anywhere else. You'd hate him if he was
not as bad as KD, but you hate him because
agreed,
he's your best player.
Yes, you hate if he locked down your best player. Look. And Zep's impact. Look, Zep started, as I noted in the article, Zep started 32 out of the 34 games this year. He missed 2 games due to COVID, I believe.
No, it was strep throat.
Strep throat. That's right. He did get strep throat.
Georgia and Arkansas. We'd have won the Arkansas game because he'd have locked down there.
100%. He would have locked down JD Note, who went for 28 points. Who JD Note is a great player. He's going to go. He will get drafted.
He'd be a really good NBA player.
But he would have not done that against the best on-ball and off-ball defender in college basketball in Zep Jasper.
No, somebody asked me not long ago of all the NBA players, because it costs money to go see him, who would you pay to watch? Mm-hmm. Well, you look at it in college, it's the same question. Who would you pay to watch? I'd pay to watch Zep Jasper play. Just because he's not as much of an offensive threat, but he's so much fun to watch on defense. If you really dig in and watch and really watch what he's doing, because a lot of people that just have a cursory knowledge of the game will just go, yeah, he can lock down his guy pretty good. It looks like he's beating his guy to the spot. Yeah. But like you pointed out, and the guy earlier pointed out, off the ball, he's even more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because of his 100%. Knowledge, his basketball knowledge, and he's going to get and put himself in the right position. So, yeah, he's a great kid to watch and a great kid to follow. If you don't follow him on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, you're crazy, because he is a lot of fun.
Rip_Quan5. Go find Zep. He's fun. He's a funny follow, especially on Twitter. And
he's a great
guy.
He loves all. That was last thing I was going to say about him.
Yeah,
he seems to love Auburn.
Yeah,
and love being here. If he didn't, he wouldn't come back for a super senior year. By the way,
he has
he
no
can go anywhere and play
come back
if he wanted to. But he seems to really like the culture and the fit and his fit in the town of Auburn. So,
and how could why wouldn't you? You know, I mean, it's just.
Kidding.
Of course, but we will go ahead and wrap this one up. We'll talk about Zep was this week. Next week, announce that right now. Next week will be Jalen Williams. I think Jalen has the chance to be one of our top players next year, and I don't think
Bruce has said so.
We're running next year through Jalen. He said that right after we lost to Miami, and I'm excited to break him down, get more involved into what. I'm gonna look at some film from Jalen this past year. I feel like that would help me as much as that helped me with the breakdown of Zep. Really watching him play, the kind of impact he made coming off the bench for Auburn this past year after starting his sophomore year.
It's another Zep Jasper story, by the way.
Yeah.
This kid, Jalen Williams, is you and I call him the Swiss Army knife of Auburn basketball. He does everything. And he loves Auburn. He's another guy who loves Auburn. And you and I interviewed his mom before. Yep. And that's another follow. If you like following people on Twitter, Chantel Williams is a really good follow on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
That article will hopefully be up on Thursday or Friday on auburndaily.com. I'll get that out and talk about Jalen next week. We love the interaction with y'all, the interaction through the comments, live or on the replay or through Twitter. Both of our Twitter handles are right. Mine's right there. Mine's and his is right there at Gray Olderberg or at War Eagle Hoops. You can find all of our stuff on Twitter there, or you can find the articles on auburndaily.com, or you can find all the stuff happening at auburndaily.com on Twitter at SI_Auburn. We will go ahead and we will get out of here. That was a fun one. I'm excited to continue to keep doing this. Excited to keep going with Zep or with the kind of brands we got going on right now. I'm excited to keep rolling. We'll go ahead and get out of here until next Friday. War Eagle.
War Eagle.